Who Moved My Cheese? An Amazing Way to Deal with Change in Your Work and in Your Life by Spencer Johnson, MD. Picture this. You're absolutely crushing it in your career. You're a respected broadcaster for a major television network. A total pro. You've hustled, proved yourself, and just wrapped up an incredible job covering track and field at the Olympics. The marquee events. The ones everyone tunes in for. You're feeling proud, secure, on top of the world. Then your boss calls you into his office and drops a bomb. For the next Olympics, you're off track and field. You've been reassigned to swimming and diving. This actually happened to a broadcaster named Charlie Jones at NBC TV. He was completely blindsided. He barely knew these new sports. He felt demoted, unappreciated, and deeply frustrated. The anger took over, poisoning everything he touched. His world had been flipped upside down, and he was stuck in that awful feeling. And then someone shared a quirky little story with him. A story about two mice and two tiny people living in a maze, hunting for cheese. That simple story, he'd later say, saved his entire career. It shifted his perspective in an instant. He realized his boss wasn't punishing him at all. His boss had simply moved his cheese. That little story is called Who Moved My Cheese by Dr. Spencer Johnson. Sure, it might sound like a bedtime tale for kids, but this book has become one of the most powerful business parables ever written. It's a quick read, super slim, but the message packs such a punch that people credit it with saving careers, marriages, and even lives. Dr. Johnson, who also co-wrote the legendary The 1-Minute Manager, understood something brilliant about human nature. He knew we tend to overcomplicate things, especially around change. He recognized that our emotions and complicated beliefs can trap us, blocking us from seeing the obvious truth staring us in the face. So today, we're walking through that maze together. We're diving into this simple, brilliant story. And I promise, by the time we're done, you'll have a fresh perspective on the inevitable changes in your own life. Whether it's school drama, shifting friendships, family upheaval, or global chaos, you'll have a mental GPS to navigate it all. You'll learn not just to survive change, but to see it as an adventure, and discover amazing things on the other side. Because life is a maze, and the cheese never stops moving. The only question is, are you ready to move with it? Let's dive into our story, set in a land that might feel strangely familiar. It's a massive maze, a labyrinth packed with corridors and chambers, full of twists, turns, dead ends, and shadowy corners. But hidden within this maze, for those clever enough to navigate it, there's something wonderful. There's cheese. Now, this isn't just your average cheddar. In this story, cheese is a stand-in for whatever you want from life. Maybe it's stellar grades, acceptance to your dream college, amazing family relationships, making the varsity team, or simply feeling peaceful and happy. We all have our own version of cheese, and we chase it because we believe it'll make us happy. And the maze? That's simply where you hunt for your cheese. It could be your high school hallways, your community, or whatever career path you're blazing. Living in this maze are 4 little characters. 2 are mice named Sniff and Scurry. They've got basic rodent brains but incredible instincts. Sniff, with his impressive schnoz, is brilliant at sniffing out cheese's general direction. And Scurry's all action. Once they pick a path, he scurries forward without hesitation. The other 2 are more like us. They're little people, mouse-sized beings who look and act like humans. Their names are Hem and Haw. With their complex human brains full of beliefs and emotions, they've got a much more sophisticated approach to finding cheese. They're searching for cheese with a capital C, the kind they believe will bring lasting success and security. Despite their differences, all four share one thing. Every morning, they throw on their jogging suits and running shoes and race into the maze to find their favorite cheese. The mice, Sniff and Scurry, use good old trial and error. They sprint down a corridor, and if it's empty, they turn around and try another. They remember dead ends and quickly pivot to new areas. Sure, they get lost and bump into walls, but they keep moving. Hem and Haw use their ability to think and learn from experience, but sometimes their powerful human emotions, fear, comfort, entitlement, cloud their judgment, making the maze way more complicated than it needs to be. For a long time, all four searched. Then one glorious day, they all struck gold at the end of a corridor at Cheese Station C. It was a mountain of cheese, more than they'd ever imagined. Every morning after that, they headed straight for Cheese Station C, but soon their routines diverged. Sniff and Scurry kept waking up early. They'd race to the station, and before settling in, they'd inspect everything, sniffing around for changes from the day before. They kept their running shoes tied together around their necks, ready to bolt at a moment's notice. They enjoyed the cheese but stayed alert. Hem and Haw, though, they got comfortable. Really comfortable. They started sleeping in, dressing slowly, strolling to Cheese Station C. After all, they knew where the cheese was. They assumed it'd always be there. When they arrived, they'd hang up their jogging suits, stash their running shoes, and slip into cozy slippers. They felt secure. Hem declared, "There's enough cheese here to last us forever." They stopped seeing it as a discovery and started viewing it as their property. They even moved their homes closer and decorated the walls with motivational sayings like, "Having cheese makes you happy." They'd become so comfortable, so confident, that it turned into arrogance. They completely stopped paying attention. Then, one morning, everything changed. Sniff and Scurry arrived at Cheese Station C to find no cheese. They weren't shocked. They'd been paying attention and noticed the supply dwindling daily. They were prepared. They didn't overthink or complain. For the mice, the problem and solution were simple. The situation changed, so they needed to change. They grabbed their running shoes, laced up, and immediately headed back into the maze, searching for new cheese. Later that day, Hem and Haw showed up. They hadn't noticed the gradual changes, so they were completely unprepared. "What? No cheese?" Hem yelled. He started hollering, as if volume alone could make it reappear. "Who moved my cheese? This isn't fair!" Haw just froze, stunned. He'd been counting on this cheese. He wasn't ready for this at all. Their reaction wasn't productive, but it was totally understandable. Finding cheese meant more than just food. It represented security, happiness, their future. For Haw, cheese meant feeling safe with a cozy home. For Hem, it meant being important, in charge. Because it mattered so much, they couldn't just move on. All they could do was keep searching around the empty Cheese Station C, hoping it was just hidden somewhere. While Sniff and Scurry were already deep in the maze, Hem and Haw stayed put, hemming and hawing. They went home hungry and discouraged. Before leaving, Haw scrawled on the wall, "The more important your cheese is to you, the more you want to hold on to it." Next day they returned, still expecting their cheese. The station remained empty. They were paralyzed. Haw wanted to shut down completely. He hadn't noticed the shrinking supply. To him it vanished overnight. Hem let his overthinking take control. "Why did they do this to me?" he demanded. "What's really happening here?" Finally, Haw looked around. "By the way, where are Sniff and Scurry?" Hem scoffed. "What would they know?" They're just simple mice. We're little people. We're smarter. We should figure this out." Haw replied, "I know we're smarter, but we're not exactly acting smarter right now. Things are changing, Hem. Maybe we need to change and do things differently." "Why should we change?" Hem argued. "We're special. This shouldn't happen to us. We're entitled to our cheese." This went on for days. While Hem and Haw analyzed and complained, Sniff and Scurry pushed deeper into the maze. It wasn't easy, but they kept moving. Eventually, they turned a corner into uncharted territory and found it. Cheese Station N, the biggest cheese supply they'd ever seen. Meanwhile, back at the empty Station C, Hem and Haw grew weaker. Frustrated and angry, they blamed each other. Haw started thinking about the mice friends. He imagined them discovering new cheese and enjoying it. The clearer this picture became, the more he saw himself leaving and embarking on an adventure. Suddenly, he exclaimed, "Let's go!" "No," Hem shot back. "I like it here. It's comfortable. It's familiar. Besides, it's dangerous out there." Hem feared getting lost, looking foolish, and just like that, Haw's fear surged back and his hope faded. So they stayed. They visited the empty station daily, returning home with worries and frustrations. Sleep became difficult. Their homes felt oppressive. They even grabbed tools and knocked a hole in the wall, thinking cheese was hidden inside. All they got was rubble and a big hole. Haw started realizing the difference between being busy and being productive. They were working hard but getting nowhere. Then one day, something clicked in Haw. He burst out laughing at himself. "Look at us," he chuckled. "We keep doing the exact same thing and wonder why nothing improves." He saw the absurdity, the foolishness of their situation. He realized fear was his cage. He asked Hem, "Where'd we put our running shoes?" As Haw started suiting up, Hem pleaded, "Why don't you just wait here with me until they bring the cheese back?" "Because," Haw said, "you're not getting it. They're never bringing yesterday's cheese back. It's time to find new cheese." Fear crept back in. What if there's no cheese out there? What if he can't find it? But then he asked himself something crucial. Where am I more likely to find cheese? Here or in the maze? He painted a mental picture. He saw himself venturing into the maze with a smile, not fear. He saw himself discovering and savoring delicious new cheeses. That image felt good. His courage returned. As he prepared to leave, Haw grabbed a rock and wrote on the wall for him, hoping it would spark something. "If you do not change, you can become extinct." Then he peered into the dark, unknown corridors, terrified, but also wondering, why didn't I move with the cheese sooner? As he started walking away, the familiar pulled at him, the comfort of the old station, even though it offered nothing. He paused and wrote another message, this one for himself. What would you do if you weren't afraid? He thought hard. Some fear is useful. It prompts action to avoid danger. But the kind of fear that freezes you? That's not helping anyone. He took a deep breath, turned toward unexplored territory, and started jogging slowly into the unknown. The journey was rough at first. He was weak from no cheese for so long he got lost. Progress felt like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But, honestly, being back in the maze hunting for cheese wasn't nearly as terrifying as he'd imagined. He was taking control instead of waiting for things to happen. He reminded himself, if Sniff and Scurry could move on, so could he. As he journeyed, a realization hit him. The cheese at Station C hadn't vanished overnight. The supply had been shrinking, the quality declining. It hadn't tasted as good. He just hadn't been paying attention. The change probably wouldn't have surprised him if he'd been watching. So he stopped and wrote, "Smell the cheese often, so you know when it is getting old." He kept going but found only empty stations. He felt like giving up. Tired and lonely, he thought about turning back. But then he asked himself again, what would I do if I weren't afraid? He realized his fears were making everything worse. So he did what he'd do without fear. He moved in a new direction. He wrote, "When you move beyond your fear, you feel free." And as he ran, something amazing happened. He started enjoying himself. No cheese yet, no clue where he was heading, but he felt good. He was letting go and trusting what lay ahead. Moving in a new direction had freed him. He returned to that mental picture, seeing himself surrounded by his favorite cheeses. The clearer the vision, the more real it became. He wrote, "Imagining myself enjoying new cheese, even before I find it, leads me to it." He shifted focus from what he was losing to what he could gain. Change could lead somewhere better. Before long, he spotted a cheese station with a few pieces of new cheese near the entrance. He tried them. Delicious. He regained some strength. The station itself was empty, but he realized if he'd moved sooner, he would have found tons of cheese here. Another lesson. He wrote, "The quicker you let go of old cheese, the sooner you find new cheese." He even went all the way back to Station C to offer him some new cheese, but Hem refused. "I don't think I'd like new cheese," he said. "I want my own cheese back." Haw shook his head sadly and headed back out. He realized happiness wasn't just about having cheese. He was happy when fear wasn't running the show. He was enjoying the journey. It was just a matter of time now. He paused to write, "It is safer to search in the maze than remain in a cheeseless situation." His old thinking had been clouded by fear, focused on what could go wrong. Now he focused on what could go right. He used to think change was wrong. Now he saw it as natural. When he realized his beliefs had shifted, he wrote, "Old beliefs do not lead you to new cheese." When you change what you believe, you change what you do. Haw continued through the maze, with renewed strength and speed, and then it happened. He rounded a corner into a new corridor, and there it was, Cheese Station N. Cheese was piled everywhere, the greatest supply he'd ever seen. Some varieties were brand new to him, and there were his old friends, Sniff and Scurry, their round bellies showing they'd been there a while. They welcomed him warmly. Haw dove into the new cheese and ate his fill. He lifted a piece high and made a toast. "Hooray for change!" As he savored his reward, he reflected on his lessons. The fastest way to change is to laugh at your own foolishness. Then you can let go and move on quickly. He'd learned from the mice to keep things simple. When the situation changed, they changed and moved with the cheese. But he'd also used his human brain to his advantage, envisioning a better future and learning from past mistakes. The biggest obstacle to change lies within yourself, and nothing improves until you change. He thought about Hem. Had Hem ever read the writing on the wall? Had he decided to move on? Or was he still trapped by his fear? Haw thought about going back, but he'd already tried. Hem had to find his own way. No one could do it for him. He had to see the advantage of changing for himself. Haw knew he'd left a trail. If Hem could just read the handwriting on the wall, he could find his way. On the largest wall at Cheese Station N, Haw wrote a summary of everything he'd learned. Change happens. They keep moving the cheese. Anticipate change. Get ready for the cheese to move. Monitor change. Smell the cheese often so you know when it is getting old. Adapt to change quickly. The quicker you let go of old cheese, the sooner you can enjoy new cheese. Change. Move with the cheese. Enjoy change. Savor the adventure and enjoy the taste of new cheese. be ready to change quickly, and enjoy it again and again. Haw knew not to get too comfortable this time. Each day, he inspected the new station and often explored the maze, staying in touch with what was happening around him. It was safer to be aware of real options than to hide in a comfort zone. Then one day, he heard something, movement, out in the maze. It grew louder. Someone was coming. Could it be? Was Hem finally about to turn the corner? Haw whispered a little prayer, hoping his friend had finally learned to move with the cheese and enjoy it. So which character were you in that story? When you first hear it, it's easy to see yourself as the hero, Haw. But here's the genius of this parable. All four characters represent parts of us. We've all got a bit of each inside. Sometimes we need to be like Sniff, using our intuition to notice subtle changes happening around us, spotting the writing on the wall before it becomes a crisis. In your world, that might mean noticing that skills for a certain career are evolving, or that a friendship's dynamic is shifting. Sometimes we need to be like Scurry, to stop overthinking and just take action. To scurry. Sometimes the best response to change is simply to start moving, even without a perfect plan. And let's be honest, we've all been Hem. We've all been in situations where we felt comfortable, safe, and entitled to our cheese. When it moved, we got angry, felt wronged, and resisted change because we feared the unknown. We wanted familiar territory, even when it no longer served us. But the real journey, the one leading to growth and new opportunities, is Haw's journey. Haw felt the same fear and anger as Hem. He was just as comfortable. The difference? He eventually learned to laugh at himself. He saw how his own fear trapped him. And in that moment of self-awareness, he found freedom to change. This story teaches us that change isn't the enemy. Fear is. Haw realized that the fear building up in your mind is almost always worse than the actual situation. He was terrified of the maze, but once he was out there, it wasn't as bad as he'd imagined. In fact, it was an adventure. The core message is deceptively simple. Change is inevitable. The world won't stand still for us. Our cheese will always be moving. Whether it's technology transforming the job market, a relationship ending, or moving to a new city, we can't stop change. We only control how we respond. We can be like Hem, staying in an empty station growing weaker and bitter, or like Haw, strapping on our running shoes and embarking on an adventure to find new cheese. So how can you apply this right now? Here are a few simple actions to get started. First, identify your cheese and your maze. Think about what cheese means to you right now. Academic success, your social life, your spot on a team, and what's the maze you're navigating to find it? Understanding what you're pursuing and where gives you clarity. Second, practice how to smell the cheese. Look at important areas of your life and ask, what small changes are happening? Are you ignoring anything because you'd rather not deal with it? The earlier you notice winds of change, the easier it is to adjust. And finally, the most powerful tool, ask Haw's question. Next time you feel stuck, anxious, or afraid of making a change, pause and ask yourself, what would I do if I weren't afraid? That question cuts through all the noise and shows you the path forward. It gives you permission to be brave. The beautiful lesson of Who Moved My Cheese isn't that you have to love every change. It's that you can learn to enjoy life's adventure, the process of moving, adapting, and growing. Your success and happiness don't come from finding a permanent cheese supply, but from developing confidence that you'll find it again and again, no matter how many times it moves. That was the book summary of Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. We've journeyed through the main story today, but honestly, a summary can only take you so far. The real magic happens when you hold the book in your hands. It's in those quiet moments when a simple phrase written on the maze wall hits you unexpectedly. This summary helps you decide if this book is worth your time. If anything we've discussed today sparked something in you, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just learning. It's an experience that can genuinely change how you see your life's maze. Also, if you found this summary valuable, I'd be grateful if you'd hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep moving with the cheese, and let's keep growing together.